Today I'm going to show you how to produce lube. Small amounts as well as slightly larger amounts. Yeah. Don't ask why. But since you're going to ask me anyways, here are a few potential uses. Firstly, you can use it to recreate some internet legends by putting some of it into a jar and adding one of those small figurines. Not gonna lie, but when I first heard about that story, I laughed out loud. And how do you even come up with such an idea? By the way, if you don't know it, here it is. Secondly, I see great potential in this stuff to be used as glue. And lastly, I'm making this because other types of content brought in more money than the chemistry channel ever did. And I gotta finance my lab equipment somehow. So next week I'm gonna meet up with someone to film something completely unhinged in an abandoned industrial site. Alright, so before scaling up, I'm going to make a small batch to show the process. These are the chemicals that are gonna be needed. So, to make these funny white liquids, I'm gonna begin by weighing out 1.5 kilograms of distilled water and heating it up to near boiling. Of course, this procedure also works without fancy hot plates. I've done it before, but with a fancy hot plate, it's much easier. To give the liquids character, I'm going to use titanium dioxide. Not nanoparticles, as those would be harmful, but this stuff is fine. I eyeballed the amount until I thought it looked right. It doesn't really matter how much is actually used. As an additive, about 100 milliliters of food-grade glycerin will be added. This is optional, but in my experience, it keeps the product from drying too quickly, which can make it less comfortable to use. Without another additive, this lube is quickly going to turn bad. Therefore I'm using phenoxyethanol. This is gonna keep it from spoiling. The final solution should contain somewhere between 0.5 and 1% by weight of phenoxyethanol. By now we are left with a liquid, and the most important ingredient remains to be added. To give it a gel-like structure, I am using carboxymethyl cellulose. Experimenting around showed me that using about 1 grams of CMC per 100 milliliters of final solution is the ideal amount to give it that specific consistency. Once the solution reached about 90 degrees Celsius, I slowly added the CMC. In the beginning the consistency was like this. But after heating for another hour with occasional stirring, it turned into this. I had to break up quite a few lumps, but now it's finished. I turned off the heating and let it cool down to room temperature. And there you go. Once it cooled down, I was left with a big beaker full of femboy juice. As I needed the beaker for something else, I quickly transferred the juice to a big plastic bottle. And of course, I accidentally had to drop in the stirfish, so I had to fish it out again. I often wonder how those go missing. For scaling it up, I have to deal with a massive problem. When I use a bigger container, it's also gonna lose heat much more quickly. And the heating element I'm using is not insanely powerful. It only has an output of about 1.2 kilowatts, which is not a lot if we are dealing with 50 liters of liquid, but it is enough. But to even be able to bring up the barrel to the temperature I want, I absolutely need to wrap it in towels and other insulating equipment, because otherwise it's gonna lose way too much heat. As I'm insanely lazy and don't want to wait even longer than necessary, I'm gonna use hot water straight from the tap. This way I'm starting with like 50 degrees warm water and not 20 degrees. I made a massive mess while transferring it to the barrel, and a bunch of it landed on the electrical connections. I am just gonna rely on hope and hope that it's not gonna catch on fire. And there we have it. Before filling it up, I marked the 50-liter mark, and as you can see I didn't fill it up fully, and that's on purpose. Later I'm gonna add more water and other ingredients, and therefore it shouldn't be completely full. But at the end of the day, this small amount of deviation doesn't really matter, and if you use a few more or less liters of water, it's not gonna change the product that noticeably. While the water is warming up, I'm going to prepare what I think is the most important ingredient. Like for the small batches, I'm going to add titanium dioxide to make it look like this color, which I can't say. The thing is, there's not really any alternative to color it white. From running at least 10 trial runs, I came to the conclusion that using about 0.6 grams of fine titanium dioxide powder per liter of water is ideal. This amount is going to make the solution look like this. As I'm using 50 liters of water, I added 29.4 additional grams of titanium dioxide. With this large amount, I'm going to add the rest of the 2-phenoxyethanol. It would be quite sad if the contents of the barrel started to grow mold or bacteria and become unusable. I mean, after all, we're going to waste the entire barrel for a single video, but that's still not a reason not to add preservative. My target temperature was 90 degrees Celsius, and the water reached this temperature after about 5 hours of continuous heating. I am curious how well all of this is gonna scale up, because on the small scale it was quite hard to add and mix up the carboxymethyl cellulose. It's time for the final touches. I added the white color, and the entirety of the barrel now looks good. And of course, I dumped in the stirfish again. I will have to deal with that later. For 50 liters of water, I'm going to use half a kilogram of carboxymethyl cellulose. And while weighing it out, it made a ton of dust and a huge mess on my table. I somehow wasn't happy with the color and added a little more titanium dioxide. I should not have done this, and it's not necessary. I believe that adding the titanium dioxide powder to the barrel directly without making a suspension water first should also be fine. So if I ever do this again, which is pretty likely, I'm going to try this out and update you on one of my socials. You can find a link in the video description. Please check them out. Now I have two problems. First of all, it's insanely hot in here because I basically got a 1-point-something kilowatt heater standing here. And second of all, it's hard to stir, so I'm gonna use this. I turned off the heating and removed all of the insulation. It's gonna stay hot enough on its own for a long time. There's still a ton of lumps in there, and over the first hour I'm going to stir it occasionally. After the hour has passed, I put up a fan to help with the cooling process. It actually took the entire night to cool back down to room temperature. Because I had this bottle which contained something that needed to be molten, I even found a use for some of the excess heat. It's the next day, and by now I think the barrel should have definitely cooled down back to room temperature. Let's take a look at it. Before taking a closer look at it, I think I'm just gonna stir it one last time. It's so fucking insane. And here's the reason why I shouldn't have added more titanium dioxide. The 0.6 grams per liters of water should have been enough. Now the thing is, I need back this barrel, and therefore I got a bigger one to store it on. Because this one's the only one I can actually heat, which has that inner plastic liner so liquids can be stored in it, and yeah. This one's better for storage anyways, it's new. Come here, fishy, fishy. Maybe the amount of titanium dioxide used wasn't that bad. I'm quite pleased with how realistic it looks. And there you go, an entire barrel of stuff that I shouldn't name on YouTube, because otherwise this video is not gonna make me any money. Yeah. It also doesn't taste that bad. Actually, it tastes kind of good. Now the barrel may be designed for liquids, and I think the lid should be fine as well, but just to be safe, I don't want the liquid to be in contact with the lid, and put a layer of plastic in between. It's gonna close up just as easily, and the layer of plastic is not gonna pose any problem. The cleanup is quite easy. This product, unlike silicone-based stuff, is water soluble, and although it may take some time, it is going to fully dissolve in water when you spray it. Only after I was fully finished, I even noticed how much stuff I splashed around. It looked like we filmed something entirely different in here. To finish it off, I quickly cooked up a logo and printed it out. Not gonna lie, but I think I did a pretty good job. It's a nice finishing touch to the barrel, which should give it some character. So surreal to have an entire barrel of this stuff. You can use it to throw your own version of a Diddy party if you like. I mean, what else are you gonna use it for? I know exactly what we are gonna use it for, but I'm not gonna say that on YouTube. And there you go, now you know you can make an entire barrel of whatever lube. I hope you enjoyed this video and gained some new knowledge. And the next ones are gonna be on some other preparation. Please like and subscribe. Lastly, I would like to thank all of my Patreons, because without you guys, I wouldn't be on YouTube anymore. So thanks for that. If you would like to become a Patreon too and see some exclusive videos like various tryptamines, please feel free to check out the link in the description.